Bezrat Hashem, on a Monday, Parashat Shemot, the Gemara of Shabbat, 105b. Akorea bechamato. Somebody who goes and tears a shirt on Shabbat because he's angry, right? Some people, when they're angry, they lose their head. They can break things, they can tear things. And this person went and he tore his shirt on Shabbat. The Gemara says, Chayav, he transgressed the Shabbat. Why? Why tearing a shirt on Shabbat is called transgressing the Shabbat? So let's learn first, where did they tear in the Mishkan? As we said in the previous classes, everything we do on Shabbat and is not allowed to do is learned from the Mishkan, the tabernacle. So where in Shabbat, they used to, on the weekday, they used to tear in the Mishkan. So as you know, the Mishkan was made out of woods, right? But on top of the woods, they would put skins of red deers, or the deers that they dyed in red. Now, around the Mishkan, there used to be like a chatzer, like a court, and this court was surrounded with a fence, and the fence was made also out of skins of deers. As they went in the desert for 40 years, sometimes worms would come on top of those skin of animals and would eat up the skin and would make a small hole into the skin. Now, in order to fix that, if you're a tailor, you know, you cannot just saw a hole. A hole is round. And if you put a thread and you start sewing, it's going to look like a patch. It's not going to look nice. How do you do it professionally? So you take the hole and you cut with a scissor towards up and you cut with the scissor towards down. So basically now you don't have a round hole, you have like a cut. And a cut, when you sew it, it's less shown as if you sew a round thing. So basically they had to cut and they had to sew. Cutting is tearing. Tearing is asur on Shabbat. So somebody goes and he tears b'chamato with his anger. He tears his clothes on Shabbat. This is something that is not allowed. And also, the Gemara adds, ube'evlo, bar minan, chad v'shalom. If somebody loses somebody on Shabbat, right? So as you know, if somebody loses one of the 7 closest people to him, his father, his mother, his brother, his sister, right, and Chavishlam, his wife, all those people, he has to tear his clothes. There's a difference between a father and a mother and brothers. For a father and a mother, the person tears on the left side, where's the heart, because a father and the mother is the heart. When it's a brother or sister or Chavishlam, one of his kids, he tears on the right. Now, if something happens on Shabbat, you're not allowed to tear. We just learned you're not allowed to tear. And this person didn't know. He heard somebody very close to him passed away, and he tears. Chayav. He's chayav. But he wouldn't have to tear again afterwards on the burial. Normally people the tear just before the burial, and there's even a blessing. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam dayan ha'emet. Right? This is one of the mitzvot, accepting what happened from Shamayim. So a person has to tear and accept the thing. So on Shabbat, you're not allowed to tear. So if this person goes and tears Shabbat, chayav, but is yotzei de kriya. The Gemara is continuing by teaching us, according to Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, haomed al hamet bishat yitziat neshama chayav likroa. Normally, it should be that every time you're standing next to somebody, and this somebody is a Jew, and he passes away, you have to tear your shirt. Why? Says the Gemara, lema ze domeh lesefer Torah shenisraf. Every Jew is a Sefer Torah. Every Jew considers Sefer Torah. To the point that, what do we do in Shabbat or Monday or Thursday when we take out the Torah? When we take out the Torah and you make the Gelilah, or the Ashkenaz called Agba'ah, we lift the Sefer Torah, you look into the words of the Sefer Torah and you try to find a word that starts with the first letter of your name. So if your name is Avraham, you're going to look for the word starting with the Aleph, like Amar, Elokim, right? If you learn your name is Mordechai, you're going to look for a word called starts with a Mem, Moshe, right? So this is why, because they say we are a Sefer Torah, and we look in the letters of the Sefer Torah, they light up our neshama. So somebody stands next to a Jew that passes away, normally is supposed to tear his clothes. But Chachamim took off this law. Why? Because people wouldn't want to stand next to people every time they have to tear the shirt. Especially imagine the people that work in Chavra Kadisha. If they would have to tear for every time they assist somebody is passing away, they wouldn't have enough shirts. So they said no. A person would tear only for his relatives and only just before the burial. But to tell you, tearing the clothes sometimes, something very important, that sometimes he would tear for a big Rav, like Rav Ovadia Yosef. He was the master of the whole generation. He was the Rav for the whole generation. When he passed away, a lot of people did Kriyah, because a lot of people learned Torah from him. How many people have in their house Yalkut Yosef, Yabia Omer, all these books, and how many people consult his books? The whole world, Sephardim, Ashkenazim, Hasidim, everybody consults his books. So to tell you, when he passed away, it's a big loss for Am Yisrael. So over here we're learning that on Shabbat, you try not to tear, right? Tearing or sewing, both are things that would made in Mishkan during the week, and on Shabbat we're not supposed to do. So us also during Shabbat we're not supposed to do. I wish you a great day. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.